After some initial rumors that the Chicago Bulls could be kind of active at the trade deadline, the question I want to ask today is, are the Chicago Bulls set up to have another quiet trade deadline for now the fourth year in a row? We can talk about all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central, YouTube pages, and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. With that said, I want to go ahead and jump into it today. And I know this is not going to be something that a lot of Bulls fans want to hear, right? Like, and I get it that the rumors, Zach LaVine to the Denver Nuggets was rumored and talked about for a while. We heard that a few teams were interested in Nikola Vučević, even though one that is interested, we're going to talk about a little bit more here in the second segment of the show. Even Mark Stein recently reporting that players like Lonzo Ball and Nikola Vučević are more likely to be moved than Zach LaVine. But one of the things that stood out there, at least to me, was the fact that rival GMs around the league are waiting for the Chicago Bulls to start taking low ball offers. And hearing that, right, it makes sense, right? I can't knock rival GMs because of what the Chicago Bulls, how they've maneuvered, how AK has moved over time. I can't knock any GM for thinking, hey, if we waited out, maybe the Chicago Bulls would be stupid enough to take a deal with no picks or anything like that, and maybe we can luck up on the Chicago Bulls, right? But it seems like, and I'm giving them a little bit of credit here because AK and Eversley have never consistently done things that just have made sense, right? But giving them a little bit of credit here is the fact that they seem like they are not willing to drop too low on value. Seem like they maybe learned from the reaction to the Alex Caruso trade, the other deals and moves that have gone about, to where they are not going to take scraps for some of their players, especially players like Vooch and Zach, who are playing well. And I think that all shapes this up to be is that we're loading potentially for another quiet trade deadline for the Chicago Bulls. And that's going to be triggering for some Bulls fans, right? Because, especially for those that look at this draft and the talent that's coming in this draft, the depth of this draft, the fact that the pick is top 10 protected to the San Antonio Spurs, all of that, everything that's going on with the Bulls this season, there's a lot of reasons why Bulls fans want to see the Bulls make a move, clear out some of the glut on this roster, and potentially just embrace being bad for an opportunity to add some really good young talent to this team. But I do think that there is that chance that's out there that this could end up being a deadline in which the Chicago Bulls kick the can down the road yet again. And we wind up with all the talk around the Bulls players, all the Bulls assets, and nothing ends up happening. There is a possibility, and I'd say it's probably a larger possibility of that happening than what a lot of people are willing to really talk about when it comes to this Bulls team. And the question there is that if we have another deadline of it being quiet, no real movement made by the Chicago Bulls, where does that sit the team, right? And there are your sect of people that look at this Bulls team, especially when you have wins like you do, both of our wins against the New York Knicks for that matter, win over the Milwaukee Bucks, those type of things, and say, hey, this is a team that can maybe do some things this year. I have my thoughts and feelings on the ceiling. The Bulls are right along with the projection that I had coming into this team. But I think that, hearing, as we've heard, the kind of the ebbs and flows, right? We initially heard, hey, there's no trade value for these guys, right? Even with Zach and Vooch playing better, there's no trade value. Then for that to go to the Denver Nuggets, were willing to make a trade, but the Bulls didn't want to take Zeke Najee's contract back. That gave the Nuggets time to really look at this thing. Jamal Murray's playing better, those type of things. And now they're not willing to make a trade. They aren't really open to making that trade anymore. Again, that could be a ploy, it could be a tactic, but that's what we're hearing, right? And then for Mark Stein to say things today like Lonzo and Vooch are more likely to be moved than Zach, I just think that unless it's a damn good offer, I do think that there's a high chance and high probability that we're gonna see the Bulls stand pat yet again. Winton in the building says a quiet trade deadline is understandable at this point. AK Mark Eversley are done being desperate and taking garbage back in return. Completely agree. I'm not an advocate for the Bulls to make a trade just to placate the fan base that want to see the Bulls make a trade, right? I'm for the Bulls making a smart trade. Now, I think that different sects of Bulls fans have different opinions on what a smart trade is. I've come to the realization, many Bulls fans have not, though, that the Bulls make a trade is not for the team to get better, right? But even if it's not to get better initially right now, you still can make a smart trade that makes sense for the future or for where your team's going, whether it be the assets that you're getting back or whatever else. And that is the place where I'm not mad if the Bulls don't see a move that makes them better in the future and definitely doesn't make them better right now. Then what's the point of making it, right? And, Mark Stein floated around in the same article, like the fact that the Nets got back 6 second-round picks between Dennis Schroeder and for Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm sorry. I hate to tell you, 6 second-round picks back for Nikola Vučević and Lonzo Ball, that's not enough. It's not enough. And I think that there's a degree of it makes sense for the Bulls to kind of stand pat and to be a little bit more selective over their assets. Dwayne Knight, what trade do you want to see for Zach and Vooch and Lonzo? Always great show. Go Bulls. Listen, I've said it before. The way that I look at it is that you have to get an unprotected first back for Zach LaVine. That's the baseline, right? Player, the contract salary, that is what it is there. I think you got to get a first back for Vooch. Now, if that's a more protected first, so let's say it's like top 8 protected, I'm okay with that, right? Especially because if a team wants Vooch, they're probably a playoff team. It's highly unlikely that pick is going to be that high either. Well, that's if it's this year's pick. It could, roll to 2026 or whatever else it is. And then for Lonzo's kind of more difficult to gauge because while Lonzo's having a positive impact, the injury history, even without that knee, is a huge question around Lonzo. How much is he going to be able to stay healthy? And he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. He's probably not going to get more than a mid-level exception deal anyway. So a lot of teams could go after him in the offseason. So then you kind of you don't want to take nothing back, just anything, but you're probably not going to get a great value back for it either, just considering the reality of that situation. Shay, honestly, I could see Vooch being moved because his contract is movable. I see Zach getting moved in the offseason because I don't think a lot of teams need a 2-guard right now. A lot of teams do need scoring right now. And I agree with you, though, Shay. I do think that a Vooch deal is probably more likely. Vooch's contract is less than half of Zach LaVine's. It has 1 year left on it after this season. So for a team that acquires Nikola Vučević at the trade deadline between the rest of the season and next season, you're not even paying 1 season of what Zach LaVine's contract is. So that definitely plays a part into it and the evaluation, I think, of what teams are willing to offer as well. Coolest JB says, can the Bulls still be a playoff team without Vooch, Lonzo, or Zach, or even a play? No. I think when you look at, of course that depends on what they get back, JB, but I think when you just look at just the baseline, how important Zach and Vooch have been to this team, I don't think that if you lose those 2 guys, and especially if you throw in Lonzo with that as well, I don't think this is a playing team. And I just don't. I personally don't. Now, I could be wrong on that, but personally I don't. Jamal, the Portland pick was lottery protected, and that's going to turn into 2 second-rounders. I want a first that is likely to convey first. Now, that's why I didn't say lottery protected, right? And the Portland Trailblazers, that was always a risk anyway. But yeah, that pick is never going to. That's why that pick isn't really even a asset in the Bulls trying to move it, because teams looking at the Portland Trailblazers aren't going to believe that the Portland Trailblazers are going to make the playoffs in the next couple of years, right? Shay, honestly, now that I think about it, it's here you go thinking. That's always a dangerous thing. What comes next? I think it's best that we should make a very small move this deadline after that Josh Giddey trade. I believe AKA is trying to be a little bit more cautious. We'll see about that. I don't know how much the Josh Giddey trade plays into the future for the Chicago Bulls as far as the decisions they make on Josh and on Zach and Vooch personally. But you do like to think that you want things to align, right? You want things to align, and we'll see. Like I said, though, I'm firmly in this camp now. I believe more than anything else that no move is coming for the Chicago Bulls. That's just where I sit right now. I believe that no move is coming for this team at this trade deadline. If it is, maybe a Torrey Craig type move. Maybe they learned from that, or they didn't move Andre Drummond last year. But outside of that, I just don't think this is going to be as active as a trade deadline as maybe what initially was thought coming into this season, especially with the Zach and Vooch thing. So, and at the end of the day, we'll see where it leads the Bulls. But next up, I know where we're going. We're going to be talking about the Warriors reportedly targeting Nikola Vučević and if the reported deals make sense for the Chicago Bulls. But before we get into that, we got to get to message from one of our sponsors, and that's Prizepicks. Today's episode is brought to you by Prizepicks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prizepicks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prizepicks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron's going to drop 30 points? Or maybe Luka's going to get more than 8 assists? Prizepicks lets you make sure your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. I've been using Prizepicks all season, and let me tell you, it's addictive. Last week, I picked Jason Tatum for more than 29 points and Anthony Edwards for more than 25 points. That's the kind of action I'm talking about. And with Prizepicks Flex Play option, even if one of my picks doesn't hit, I can still double my money. Plus, once I hit, I get my money fast, sometimes in as quick as 15 minutes. It's honestly the best way to keep the game exciting. Now that's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prizepicks, run your game. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, my Bulls fans. So over the weekend, we got kind of more details on Nikola Vučević and the Warriors' potential pursuit of the Bulls' talented one-way center. It is what it is when it comes down to Vooch. And this has been an interesting thing to kind of break down and look at because I think it gives you a good idea of how the market is looking at Vooch, right? Us as Bulls fans, we have our opinion on Vooch, and it is what it is there. But reportedly that the Golden State Warriors are willing to offer Moses Moody, right, for Nikola Vučević, or they're willing to offer Kyle Anderson and a first-round pick. Now, you don't get the first-round pick if you take Moses Moody. And that is the place where I'm looking at and saying, if this is the type of deals that the Bulls are getting offered, now keep in mind, take all of this with a grain of salt. As I said, I like to always give that caveat. Every time we're talking about trade rumors or anything like that, it's always a huge grain of salt that you have to take it with, right? Because honestly, when you look at this as well, when you're just looking at everything and how it's shaking out, like Moses Moody is making only $5 million, right? So that means that they still have to match the rest of Nikola Vučević's $20 million contract. So where else is that? Who else are you adding in there, right? Who else are you adding in there? They only have $333,000 underneath the second tax, the first tax apron. So where else is the rest of the money coming from? He's $5.8 million this year, and then $11 million next year, $12.5 million after that, and $13.4 million after that. Now, while Moses Moody is 22 years old, he's also another guard, right? Do the Bulls need more guards? So who else are you adding in there? With that information, looking at just the reality of it, right? Are you throwing in Gary Payton II? You have to include almost a Kevon Looney, a Kyle Anderson. You got to include one of those guys as well, right? Now, I'll say this. If they're willing to come off of Kevon Looney and Moses Moody, okay, we can talk. But if you think you're still coming away with that with giving up no picks, Golden State, what are you smoking? Right? Now, I can understand the Kyle Anderson part of it. Kyle Anderson is not really in their rotation as much as he was before. He's still only an $8 million contract. Nikola Vučević is $20 million. If you have to take back Kyle Anderson, he has 2 years left on his deal after the season to get a first-round pick back. Cool, but the Warriors, it better be unprotected, right? And what year are we talking about? The Warriors have up to 7 first-round picks that they can trade. 7 first-round picks that they're eligible to trade. You running me one of those picks. Run me those picks. If you're not running me picks, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? the barrier of entry. I don't care who you're offering. Moses Moody isn't the type of player where you look at Moses Moody and be like, oh yeah, we got Moses, we good. No, Moses Moody is a role player. I'm telling you right now, I don't know if this is posturing. I don't know if the rumor just, you better be giving up Moses Moody and Kyle Anderson and a first round pick, or Moses Moody and Kevon Looney and still a pick that's likely to convey. You giving something. I'm leaving here with something. Because for the immediate gall that is coming from the Golden State Warriors to think that you can get Nikola Vučević, Vooch, for less than a first round pick, you're smoking stuff. I know that Vooch is a one-way player. I get it. And I'm going to be honest with you here. I like the concept and the idea of Nikola Vučević being on the Golden State Warriors. I think when you look at them having Trace Jackson Davis, them having Draymond Green there defensively, I think they'll be pretty sound and okay. I'm not mad at the idea of them pursuing Nikola Vučević. It makes some sense for that team. It makes some sense for that team. But if you think you're finna lowball the Chicago, and this goes back into what we talked about in the first segment, if these are the type of deals that the Chicago Bulls are being offered, this is why they may very well stand pat. This is why they may stand pat. It's because this is not, I get it. Vooch is a limited player. But you look at players that Nikola Vučević is outplaying, right? Joel Embiid is getting voted in as an all-star. Vooch has been on the court and more productive when he's been on the court than Joel Embiid this season. Not overall in their careers, but this season, right? You want to go for it? Cool. He fits your timeline. They want veteran players that can play now with Steph Curry. That's great. But you're not getting Nikola Vučević for pennies on the dollar. You're not. You're not. It's just not going to happen. And if AK does that deal, you're stupid. I believe that the Warriors would have won a Zach LaVine, but they would have had to give up Jonathan, which they... Shay. Bro, why are you rushing? Why are you rushing, bro? I'll say this. I doubt that the Warriors have an interest in Zach LaVine because they could have got Zach LaVine for Chris Paul outright and decided not to do it. If the Warriors aren't giving up Moses Moody with Kevon Looney, that trade ain't worth unless picks are... Exactly. You cannot try to sell us on, oh yeah, y'all got Moses Moody, you should be good, you don't need the first round pick. My homie, what? What in the blue hell are you talking about to where you think that Moses Moody is enough to get Zach LaVine alone? What are you thinking about? I mean, not Zach LaVine, Nikola Vučević alone. What are you smoking? Any player that averages 20 and 10 should be worth the first round pick. I know that may sound stupid, but that's just... No, that's not stupid. That's not stupid at all. A player that's averaging 20 and 10, that's sort of the top of the league of double-doubles, right? I get it. He's not great defensively, but you're the one who wants to acquire him. You know he's not good defensively. It's a first-round pick. The barrier entry is a first-round pick. The coolest JB, if Vooch goes to the Warriors, is he on the bench? No, he's starting. He's their starting center at that point in time. So it's stuff like this that, listen, I don't defend AK a lot anymore. Not that how I did when I first took over this podcast in AK's first year here. I don't defend him as much, but I will defend AK on this. If this is the type of deals that you're getting offered where a team is telling you, oh yeah, bet you can get Moses Moody, you don't need a first round pick, I'm not mad at him holding on and holding the cards. I'm not mad at it at that point. Because that's not just a lowball offer. That's a stupid offer. That's dumb. That's objectively dumb. Nate, just to recap real here, Nate. So the reported thing is that they would be offering Moses Moody and, of course, cap filler to fill out the rest of it. Or you can get Kyle Anderson and a first-round pick and salary cap filler. So I'm all for the first-round pick. Now, the one thing on this as well is that if the Bulls were not willing to take back Zeke Najee's contract as a younger player, that's basically his contract is about the same as a Kyle Anderson, I don't think that the Bulls are willing to take Kyle Anderson back either. And that's the interesting part of this. If they looked at Zeke Naji and said, We don't want to take back a bad contract in Zeke Naji. Kyle Anderson deal goes basically over the same amount of time, and it's about the same amount of money. So I don't know if I see that the Bulls taking that offer at that point in time. I don't know if I see them taking it. And like I said, if a first round pick isn't one of the first things you're saying when you pick up the phone, I don't even know what we're talking about. I don't know what we're talking about at that point. We have nothing to talk about. We can't have conversations. But all right, you guys can let me know how you feel about that one. We're going to end this episode talking about Derrick Rose, not yet again. We talked a little bit about it. It was a bonus episode, so it was only like 10 minutes. So we're going to get a little bit more in depth into it. But first, we got to get to a message from FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. I've told you guys before, what FanDuel gives you guys is to give you access to all the latest play-by-play, stats, analysis, everything, so you can make an informed bet on the same page where you place your bets. It just gives you a little leg up to make quicker and smarter bets and get that money that FanDuel is trying to give you. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200. I know some of y'all are broke. You shouldn't be betting anyway, so get that extra $200 in there and get your bets in. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff this season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, my Bulls fans, man. You guys know I appreciate you guys for tuning in. By the way, make sure you guys are going on to LockedOnDaily.com to sign up for the Locked On Bulls daily newsletter written by me. So make sure you guys stay in. I love the support there. We're towards the top 10 of subscribers to the newsletter on all Locked On podcasts. I gotta be in that top 10. I gotta be in that top 10. I'm a petty and competitive person, and the fact that Locked On Bulls is sitting there right now, we are at number 11. We are only 14 subscribers back from the Memphis Grizzlies that are in number 10. I need 14 of y'all. There's 52 of you guys watching right now. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, sign up for the Locked On Bulls daily newsletter, and get us in the top 10. I may do a giveaway. If we can get into the top 5, I will give away a Derrick Rose jersey. So there you go right there. We need at least 1,200 subscribers to the newsletter to get into the top 5. So if you guys subscribe to the daily Locked On Bulls newsletter, we get in the top 5. I will give away a Derrick Rose jersey, the color of your choosing. There you guys go on that one. But to end the episode, let's talk about one of the best moments that fans have had in quite a while being a Chicago Bulls fan, and that was the acknowledgement of Derrick Rose and the celebration of his career, right? And over this weekend as well, we got announced that Derrick Rose is getting his jersey retired, which is huge, right? And I've seen some people who have fought against this and asked if Derrick Rose deserves this. And the thing that I have to respond to that, to everybody who's saying, why are you giving 2 nights to Derrick Rose? Does he really deserve to have his jersey retired? Shut up. Shut up. Because people that ask that don't understand it's not just about what he did on the basketball court. It's also about what he means to the city of Chicago, right? What he means to the city. Derrick Rose made people proud to be from Chicago. And he continues to make people proud to be from Chicago, right? So I get it. Is it a nostalgia grab by an ownership group that loves being able to bait nostalgia? Yes. 2 things can be true at the same time. It is a nostalgia bait, but it's also something that's deserved by Derrick Rose and for the fans, right? And I think when Derrick Rose worded it greatly, when he asked, would he like to have his jersey retired on the same night? He said, tonight wasn't about that. Tonight was about my teammates. It was about us coming together. And that is the right thing that's to say there. And so it's no different. I made the comparison to this. When Dwayne Wade retired, he got a night. But then when he came back and they gave him a statue, he had another celebration. The only difference is that the Bulls are doing it on back-to-back seasons. But Derrick Rose deserves this. The city of Chicago deserves this. I'm not trying to hear any hate on it at all. No hate on it at all on what Derrick Rose deserves to be. I'm just not. He deserves every bit of this. And overall, regardless of the nostalgia grab or anything else, he deserves this. You look at what that man sacrificed how he reinvigorated a that's not the Chicago, the whole world was watching the Chicago Bulls again. We have not had that since Michael Jordan. We haven't had it since Derrick Rose. People fail to understand what D Rose means to a whole entire city, and to some degrees a state, right? And even people outside of that. He's motivated people that are in the NBA right now that talk about how Derrick Rose. Go and look at the way that Jalen Brunson talks about Derrick Rose. Go and look at the way that Ja Morant talks about Derrick Rose. Go and look at the way that Anthony Edwards talks about Derrick Rose. The inspiration that Derrick Rose brought to this franchise and to the city deserves to be celebrated. And guess what? I don't care that it's happening on 2 separate nights. So that's my thought process on it. I just wanted to end this episode talking about Derrick Rose and Derrick Rose night because it was such an amazing celebration of him, the game. It was just such a perfect story, the way that all that shook out and it happened. It was just great. It was picturesque, and Derrick Rose deserves every single bit of it. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following us at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me personally at CEO Haize. Like I said, go to LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up for the Locked On Bulls daily newsletter. Locked On Bulls is free and available in every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, and Amazon Fire TV. Love you guys. Go Bulls, man. You guys already know you mean the world to me. See red, y'all. Peace.